I got myself a little tree now. Yeah, figured I might as well start getting some decorations in around here, but the problem is, this format kind of limits me with how much stuff I, can have and stuff. But for those who don't know, got myself a tree, and hold on a second. Comes with a little switch right here. If I just turn it on real quick, I believe it. I actually didn't mean for it to be like that. Hold on, see if I can. Hey, you know what? You know what? Basically, like for every time I press the button, the lights go differently or whatever. So, yeah, it doesn't seem so bright. I'm actually kind of worried because I actually want to have this tree right here, but I was worried that because some people may have, light issues or, epilepsy and it doesn't seem so bright, I guess. It looks okay. It should be anyway. I mean, it's not like it's encompassing the entire screen, so yeah, it should be fine. So, yeah, my new tree, that's my hype for today. As well as I finally finished the series I've been watching for the last couple of years, which I will be talking about this morning. Let's see, what was my low? It's kind of hard to talk about, but like last night, my parents got in an argument, not with me, but with each other. And it's obviously the fact my parents are fighting. Again, they love each other. They're not going to divorce or anything. This really isn't anything major anyway. But it does kind of bother me whenever I see like a couple argue, especially when you've been single for as long as I have on a consistent basis and, you have any of that, I guess. I mean, again, this isn't the worst thing in the world. Of course, it doesn't ruin my day. I mean, in the end, it's my parents' problem to deal with and, not mine. So, I mean, by the time I visit them again later today, things are going to be fine. It'll be fine. There's literally going to be nothing to worry about. And my act of kindness was we had to order dinner from Storages again, and we had to bring it home because Corny had Sparkle, and yeah, we technically probably could have eaten at Storages if parking was available. Seriously, don't get me wrong. If you ever visit Corny, New York around Christmas time and you visit the Parade of Lights or Sparkle, if you can actually just find yourself a good parking space, which, trust me, it's going to be hard to do, you'll have a good time. But honestly, again, if you can find a good parking space, that is. Because it's darn near impossible to do. But, we get home, and I helped set the table and got everybody drinks. So that was really nice. So, good morning, and happy Sunday, everybody. I just said I finished a show that I've been watching for the last couple of years. I mean, I started watching the show back in I want to say it was like 2018, 2019 when I saw it. And then, because like I missed like the first couple seasons of the show, and then I sort of binge watched it. And then, I was going to probably wait until the series ended somehow, and it technically just did with its final season airing on Netflix this year, and that was F is for Family. Now, I want to make one thing abundantly clear. This is not a kid's show. This is definitely people for, like, teenagers, adults. So, if your little kids get into this and they get messed up from it, I don't know how to help you. Because I'm letting you know right now, this is definitely an adult, animated show. But a good one. It is. It is, again, F is for Family, which stars Bill Burr, one of my all-time favorite comedians, by the way. I'll get into him in a minute, as Frank Murphy. He has a wife named Sue, 3 kids named Kevin, Bill, and Maureen. And then they have a fourth kid named Megan in season 5. And, this show takes place during the 70s where, you could get away with a lot more stuff than what you can with now. Like, there was more inappropriate stuff to see on TV. Things involving civil rights, even though the civil rights movement was pretty much over at that time. Like, stuff like, racial problems, women sort of gaining more equal rights at the time and stuff like that. Or not equal rights, more like more women involvement in the workforce, stuff like that. Again, this was the 70s. You get away with a lot, and the show really takes advantage of that in a lot of ways. And actually, you know what? The season, as I was watching the rest of the final season yesterday, I actually couldn't help but be reminded of what would happen later, but I'll get to that in a minute. So, full disclosure, season 5 begins with Frank Murphy. His dad dies. And before, he died, the last thing he said was box 16, which Frank goes through all the other boxes with the number 16 on all throughout the city. And he thinks he finally finds it, but it turns out it didn't really give him the right advice. And it turns out he didn't say box 16, it's Bach 16. It's in Johann Sebastian Bach, the famous composer. It was like symphony or whatever. And the only reason why he wanted that song played at his funeral, and because it sounded like a beer commercial he used to say when he walked in or whatever. It's jokes like that honestly, that's the great thing about the writing in the show and the comedy. It's a relatively slow burn, but it's a good one. It is. And yes, this takes place in the 70s, and if you know Bill Burr's comedy, you know it's going to be raunchy. Again, this should not be watched by little kids. But it's honestly a really good show. People of my generation and older can, gravitate towards it because that was family life growing up. I mean, my family life was a lot more conservative. I mean, yeah, my parents, would curse every now and again, but not to the level of what happens in this show. And, kids could get away with a lot more then than they could even when I was growing up, actually. You could play in the woods all day and no one knew where you were, stuff like that. You could easily do some pretty messed up stuff. Honestly, that's what this show... Really, the pull of this show is the fact that, again, this is the 70s. And you get away with a lot back then. And that's actually what kind of makes it, appealing in a good way. And I legit have to mention the cast here because this show, although the series had a dynamite cast. I mean, John DiMaggio was there for a little while. Kevin Michael Richardson. I'm blanking on Vince Vaughn even appeared for a little while. Like, this was a good show. A really good show. But I gotta get to the main cast. Starting with Sam Rockwell as the neighbor Vic. He is awesome. He was funny. You gotta go with Haley Reinhart as Bill. She was awesome. Justin Long as Kevin. He was good. Like, yeah, you can sort of pick up that it's Justin Long. But at first, I couldn't tell who it was. So, yeah, very nice. Laura Dern as Frank's wife, Sue. I also have to give a major shout out to, because here's the thing. My favorite, performer and actor in the show is easily Bill Burr, and I'll get to him in a minute. But my favorite voice actor in this show goes to the person who played Little Maureen and other characters in the show, and that is Debbie Derryberry, which is an awesome name, by the way. And if you don't know who Debbie Derryberry is, to put things into perspective, she was the voice of Jimmy Neutron. Yeah, God of Blast, that was her. And what can I say? Debbie Derryberry still got it. She does. And it was a really good, she was really great and everything she did. But I really got to go into Bill Burr here because, now keep in mind, I grew up in a relatively conservative home. So looking up stuff like other comedians and stuff really was kind of hard for me to do. The first time I ever saw Bill Burr was when he once guest starred on Conan. And this was during the Lance Armstrong incident. And, Bill Burr gave his thoughts on, everything going on. And what followed was just one of the funniest and technically true things I'd ever seen. And that's actually one reason why Bill Burr's comedy works. People like Bill Burr or Dennis Leary or Louis Black, they can be loud, they can be angry, but they are brutally honest. And I mean that in the best possible way. Honestly, over the years, Bill Burr has become one of my all-time favorite comedians. And whenever he's on screen, I'm like, I gotta pay attention to it. And here's the thing, he's not just a good, comedian, he's also a really good actor. Seriously, there's old clips of him on the Chappelle Show. He's really good at that. And he's on The Mandalorian. He was in The King of Staten Island, which I haven't seen that movie, but I want to. But I have seen scenes with Bill Burr in it, and he's awesome. So, yeah, Bill Burr, he's sort of a raunchy comedian, but he's funny. If you gave him a chance, you'd like him. Absolutely. And honestly, I don't want to give too much away about the series Adams for Family for, how it ends, because this really isn't the sort of show that has a happy ending. Usually for every one, it really does feel like for every one step forward, there's 2 steps back. This is a pretty real show. So, if you're into something that's real and genuine, but definitely has some great moments, for sure. Adams Family is for you. If you're a Bill Burr fan or a fan of any of the people I talked about, like Sam Rockwell and Lauren Dern and Debbie Derryberry, yes, also check out this show. And you know what? Since I am talking about an animated show, I think I'll do today's YouTube channel shout out to another channel I used to watch. I still watch. That also talks about animated shows, and that is the Roundtable. Those guys are awesome. Seriously, especially Awestruck Vox. I've gravitated towards him a lot. And yeah, he's talked about shows like Steven Universe, Star vs. the Force of Evil, Amphibian he's been doing lately, which he goes into more. His videos on Amphibia are far more in depth than what I could ever do. So if you want a more in-depth look at an episode of Amphibia or any show that's come out in the last several years, or really any series that's come out in the last several years and what his thoughts on it were, go to the Roundtable. Those 3 guys at the Roundtable. Sorry, I'm blanking on the other 2 guys at the Roundtable. I am so sorry. Awestruck Vox is just the guy I happen to watch more on the Roundtable. Seriously, every Roundtable video I click, it's Awestruck Vox. I don't know what to tell you. It's just a coincidence like that. But yeah, check out the Roundtable. Those guys are awesome. They're really entertaining everything they do. And I guess you guys are probably wondering how this Christmas tree works. Basically, it's this little button, right? And every time I press the button, it's a different, sort of, motion. I think I got timer comb, time and waves, timer flashing, I think. All flashing. Okay. Chasing flash. Snow fade. Or maybe that's chasing flash. Okay, this is slow fade. Twinkle. Steady on. Oh. So what's the first one? Oh, timer comb. Okay. But if I want to turn it off, I just quickly hold it for 2 seconds and it's off. But I'd rather keep it on for you guys. So from now on, if I'm in this format during the Christmas season, this hat, this tree are definitely going to be there. Or definitely Honestly, I don't really know why I don't really have this format all the time, to be honest. Well, I sort of do. I would like to sit on the couch sometimes and feel comfortable and relaxed, I guess. But, yeah. Why don't I make this format all the time? I'll have to consider doing this more in the future. I mean, honestly, during the month of December, I find myself in this format, anyway. But having it year round, and obviously any time throughout the year where I feel it appropriate, I will. But year round, I'll have to consider that. Maybe at some point. I just want to talk about earlier when I was watching the end of F is for Family. And there's this one scene where Sue's brother Lou, who's voiced by Neil Patrick Harris, was gotten in an argument with his father, played by Kurtwood Smith, and they're Bill Burr's in-laws, or Frank Murphy's in-laws. And Frank Murphy's like, you two have each other. I don't have my father anymore. Well, I wouldn't give to have that again, essentially. And again, it goes into what I mentioned earlier. I'm a single guy. I don't really have a lucky girl in my life to be with. Now, anyway. I mean, I'm sure it's going to happen one day. And whenever I see a couple fighting, especially my parents, you actually are lucky enough to say you're together and you're acting like this. I have nothing. Oh, I shouldn't say that. I mean, they're still my parents, and I still love them, and they still love me. And of course, after last time, there's nothing to take away from it. And I get the couples argue all the time. I'm not gonna stress about that, but sometimes it really does bother me. So, if you are in a couple or in a relationship, just do what you can to give each other respect. That's all I'm asking. It doesn't have to be perfect, and sometimes you need to argue about some things, and try and get to a compromise as soon as you can. I guess is the takeaway I want to give here. Anyway, like, favorite, chat, subscribe button, follow me, subscribe, friend on YouTube. I'm very helping this video for all of you guys watching. Joe for a wonderful, wonderful Sunday. If everyone's going to talk to you, I'm going to be here to let you way back. Take care and make good choices. See ya.